So, regional communities members would be elected by the members of Gram Sabha in a kind of method where election would be indirect. Then, at the level of district communities, the members of regional communities, they would elect members of the district community. Then, at the level of assembly, again, the similar process would be continued and the members would be elected indirectly. Similar thing happens in national parliament as well. So members of the national parliament would be elected not on the basis of the competition between or among the members of different political parties, but they would be elected indirectly by the members of different provincial assemblies. So this is how the members who would participate in governance, they would be elected. But there would not be, in JP's understanding, any ministerial portfolios which would be allocated to individuals. So at every level beyond the village, there would be committees which would be given responsibility of governance in respective areas, in specific areas. So, say for instance, at the level of the province, there will be committees which would be composed of people from among the elected members of the provincial assembly, and they would be responsible for governance of a specific area. So maybe in the field of agriculture, or maybe in the field of economy, or maybe in the field of education, right? So committees would work together to arrive at decisions, and at most of the places, again, the same criteria would be applicable. That endeavor should be to arrive at decisions through the means of consensus. But if that does not happen, then again, there would be a kind of lottery system, that JP had suggested to be used. Now, similar thing would be applicable at the case of in the case of national parliament as well. So there would be committees, right? And the committees would be composed of people from among the members of the national parliament. So there would be no one individual who would be in charge of one specific portfolio. Rather, there would be a group of people who would be responsible for the governance of a specific field, a specific area, right? So the emphasis is again on governance. And in the whole process, JP would understand that as far as the application of force is concerned, as far as the application of power is concerned, right? That's what would not be required. And as far as the power is concerned, then power in this way, in the most effective manner, belongs to where it should be located. So actual power would be actual power would be located in different self-governing village communities, where most important decisions concerning the lives of the inhabitants of the village would be taken. Now, there could be various issues. Possibly one can look at that. How possibly this may relate to national level decisions, right? If the most important decisions are to be taken at the local level and at the level of the village community. So that is where possibly one is required to understand that JP's emphasis and his overall objective was to look at the whole system in a manner where different groups at the local level would be most important, right? So they would be seen in a form of cohesive organic communities, where their cohesiveness and where the larger values which may promote individual freedom would be most important. But as I told you, there would be matters which may be common to different regions, for instance, or which may be common to different districts, for instance, or which may be common to different provinces, for instance, right? So then the next layer or next immediate layer would take care of the matters which would concern the different communities of which it is composed of. So say for instance, if a province is composed of different district communities, then it would be concerned with the governance of the areas which may be common to all the district communities of which it is composed, right? So that's how, that's how. But again, right, the whole system would work through the means of the committee system, and wherein governance would be emphasized. Governance would be more important rather than the government, right? So force is something which should not be required, because most of the decisions would be taken by consensus. Application of law or execution of law would become easy primarily because, before execution or before any law which would come into effect, the larger consensus has been achieved in the community, right? The larger consensus has been achieved in the community with respect to the law. So acceptance of law would not be a problem. This is how JP looked at his his whole idea of community democracy, and the way it would function, and the whole aspect of governance of community or communitarian democracy that one may understand as far as JP's thought is concerned, right? But what is to be done meanwhile? Meaning that at that point of time there was in JP's understanding a lot of corruption that prevailed, and the corruption had crept into each and every walk of life. So right from the level of the individual, then in villages and districts, and in successive groups, even at the level of nation, right? So everywhere there was corruption, there was a lot of moral degeneration, and according to JP, everyone simply wanted to pursue one's self-interest, and mostly political parties and government would work for the interest of the groups which mattered for its existence and for its continuation, right? So for its continuity. So that's what JP wanted to address, and this is what JP understood that possibly could be done through the means of total revolution, right? So that's where we come to the next idea, the next concept as far as JP's thoughts are concerned. His idea of total revolution. Now this total revolution is again has to be understood in a manner that revolution here doesn't mean use of any form of violence, according to JP. Now one can look very clearly as far as influence of Gandhi and his aspect of non-violence is concerned, right? But the term total revolution, or in the manner and in the aspect in which JP uses, that again follows the lines of Vinoba Bhave. That was possibly in the sense that Vinoba Bhave had used, and that is where one can understand that what JP would mean by total revolution, right? Now, total revolution doesn't mean that there has to be change of the existing political structures alone. That's not what total revolution is, according to JP. Now, total revolution for JP would mean that each and every aspect of human life needs to be completely transformed. Now, the total or comprehensive revolution, right? This is what, alternatively, what he called, right? So each and every aspect of life has to be transformed. Transformation of one's social, moral, economic, and political life has to take place. Transformation has also to take place at the level of individual and at the level of different groups. So that is where individual groups, provinces, and till the time it would encompass, till the time it would cover the whole of nation, this particular revolution had to be waged. But as I told you, in his understanding, this revolution did not have to occur or did not have to take place through the means of violence. Now, this is a total or comprehensive revolution primarily because there would not be any immediate end to the process of transformation. So this transformation is something which would be an ongoing process, right? This transformation is something which would continue throughout. So this is a kind of process rather than this is a kind of an act or an event which would aim at bringing about change, and then it would come to an end. So this is not how he would look at the aspect of total revolution or comprehensive revolution.